Yes, we're live. Oh no.
Yeah.
Your video already has 2 dislikes, and it's only been live for 5 seconds.
Gee whiz.
What the fuck?
People have really got hate boner for you, Michael. What's going on?
That's good. That's good because we had 23 views in like 5 minutes on that little thing I did today.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. Let's go take a look over here and see what's happening. Oh, there we go. I got to shut the sound off on this puppy. Well, hell. Oh, we got a couple likes.
Well, I only see one, and it's mine.
Now we got three.
We're
No, 4.
Oh, we got 3 to 2. 4?
Easy. Yeah. I
refreshed
the page.
4. It's just cruising up, man.
Same.
Okay.
I know.
This is
Let's not curse our good fortune here, gentlemen.
yeah. Well, who the hell was telling me today? A friend was telling me. He said, don't fuck with those people. He said they might actually show up to your house, and it's like, yeah, well, I was talking about changing my locks and getting security cameras, but
Ew, which people? Maddox?
yeah. Well, he basically said in person or whatever, and then he was cracking his neck during the debate. Did you notice that?
Maddox and his Nazi ass looking self is going to show up too.
Yeah, well, he'll be easy to spot anyway.
How well do you think that's going to work, Maddox? Tell me.
Yeah, in Minnesota, he'll be pretty easy to spot. I think my neighbors will, say, "Hey, who's that dude?"
Just put signs outside of your house just in case. Like, if you ever see this man, call this number.
Yeah. Well, he's getting a little.
They forgot their experimental subject.
Yeah, he's getting a little odd, I think. It's just my impression of the debate and the the whole new the 10-minute intro that he did or whatever, the 7-minute intro.
Mm.
Where are we here? I don't know. I should have more.
Did Beautiful just leave?
Oh, he bounced off. I'll bounce it back in.
Oh, okay.
You're not getting out of it this easy.
We get out of it, man. I'm. Jeez.
You're
it's
in
been
it.
a while since Maddox has really opened the honeypot to let us tear claws into it.
Did you watch?
Yeah, it has. It has been a while. Okay, I think it's 8. I think it's 8 where he does his thing. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try to share a screen, and we'll try to get some of this shit done. But we were talking earlier about semiotics. Oh, I think it was there. Or midnight, or hang on a second. Midnight, I gotta let you in, but I'm in the middle of a dialogue box. And sometimes I can't get out of a dialogue box when I get in the middle of it.
Sometimes not Maddox. Sometimes Speed of Sound just has a few old man moments.
He left.
He left.
No, he just left.
No, my screen isn't big enough to fit all this shit.
Why the hell would I leave?
You leave.
You're kind of like spontaneous. You're like as random as an electron trying to decide if it wants to collapse or not.
Exactly.
Well, true. But okay. So hold on. Why? Don't you want to go back? Like, why did you start here at this timestamp?
Because this was actually where the debate starts. Standing for Truth got through all this bullshit and is buy my merch and support my channel.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
If you want to support the great work that we're doing here, no, I don't.
What great work!
I mean, you're supporting it more than anyone else. You've already bought like half of it.
I know.
How much money have you given to
hypocrite here?
I don't know, but I'm giving him his fucking. I'm getting a refund, okay, on all that.
You're getting a refund for what?
For those books. I'm suing Amazon.
Over the fact that they delivered shitty books that you ordered to them that you requested?
For listing them, for tempting.
For listing them.
Yes.
I can get look as much as they are shit. Let him let him have his fun.
Yeah, well, for what I paid for them, really, great fire starting material.
And the book's demonology is a piece of shit, but it's a beautiful piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
So you're literally gonna burn money.
In the winter, I like a good fireplace fire, so I don't know.
I'm thoroughly against burning books, even shitty ones.
I know.
Really?
Yes.
So if I gave you a copy of the Jehovah's Witnesses book, are you going to burn it?
No.
Okay.
Who was that dude that had the morphogenic fields or whatever? What the
I don't
hell?
know.
Oh my God, he was so bad. We had him for our philosophy club, and when I came home from the last session of the philosophy club, I got out of my car and I took that book and threw it in the corner of my garage, and I think it's still out there. And that was the only time I've ever come close to throwing a book away. Shapiro or no, not Shapiro.
I mean, I threw books away because I had to move, and I'm still regret that.
Yeah, I've never done that.
If it's from Shapiro, get it far, far away from your house.
Was it Shapiro?
Wait, so how long has it been sitting there? Like, when was the last time you had philosophy club that you just left it in your garage?
It was 2 years ago.
Is it still out there?
I'm sure. Nobody else is going to clean my garage but me, so pretty sure it's there. Let's find it. But anyway, he had this idea of morphogenic fields, and he made a bunch of money and did some TEDx talks, and it was just all kind of woo shit. But anyway, let's. I think this is the beginning of the spiel. But let me see. Do I have anything earlier? Why would I have something earlier? Why would I have something at 5? Well, let's see what this is. Okay, so let me know if you can hear it.
Once again, thanks for being here, brother. You're no stranger, of course. So,
Whoops.
2 times speed.
We got some high speed going on here. Lay back. We want to hear the full experience. Whoops. I don't want to do that either. What the hell am I doing?
I appreciate you having me. It should be a fun, interesting debate. It's kind of it's interesting that Godless Engineer, what he says he does. I think I had 12 subscribers when he decided to do a response to one of my videos when I first got into this whole game, and that's kind of culminated with this discussion tonight. So it should be interesting to see how things go. But my channel, if you search logical, plausible, probable, do a lot of after shows, different videos and different discussions on different topics. Tomorrow night, 6:30.
Who gives a shit?
Let this day stand as a line of demarcation for me and to all those who meet me in the future, whether it be in person or in the digital ring of debate in which we are currently engaged. From henceforth, there will be no quarter given to the enemies of our Creator, nor those who refuse to look beyond the pathetic talking points spewed by my opponent. And
this is why this is what pissed me off about him yesterday.
I'm not a programmer. I don't want to be a programmer. I respect programmers.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right, you got to have a lot of ego to say, and a lot of stupidity to share with people to say I want this to be the defining moment of my life beyond anything else. Beyond owning a company that failed, multiple companies that failed. Beyond owning a YouTube channel. I want this.
Godless Engineer even said, "I know nothing about it." Godless Engineer even said, "I don't know you, dude." Maddox was getting so offended. How dare you not know who I am? I'm like,
am I the only person that just finds it a little bit odd that this is kind of where Maddox wants to have his defining moment, his moment of glory, defined in the sand?
Well, you can see Smokey's influence here, right? In the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean Smokey and Maddox both share a very healthy lump of egotism. But with Maddox in this case, it's you think that debating Godless Engineer, a YouTuber, a YouTube nobody outside of this, microcosm, is such a significant event in your life?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. You do you.
Yeah, okay, let's listen to the rest of this bullshit and see where he's going.
A line of demarcation for me and to all those who meet me in the future, whether it be in person or in the digital ring of debate in which we are currently engaged. From henceforth, there will be no quarter given to the enemies of our Creator, nor those who refuse to look beyond the pathetic talking points spewed by my opponent and those like him. The verbal weapons you wield are broken. Your arguments are juvenile and lacking in substance. The more I engage with atheists, the
Oh,
more I
that's-
realize you are mental children desperate to avoid the obvious.
Stop.
The dogma
Okay,
of
just stop. This is
Killing you?
you know what? Fuck you, Maddox. I hope you hear this.
Irony.
Probably
meet
will.
Maddox. Irony. Meet Maddox. Maddox. Meet irony.
I don't know. To me, I was. It's so weird how he views like debate like a boxing ring.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. What did he?
What were you gonna say?
He called. Oh, he called the ring. What did he call it?
He called it like the ring of debate or something like that.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
ring of fire.
and he was like, well, at the end of the debate, one of the parts that I saw where he was talking to or like Stupid Horror Energy did like some super chats or something. He was like, his response to it was basically, "Fight me, bro,
Yeah.
come fight me."
Yeah,
and
it
it's
was.
like, dude, chill. She's just asking questions. Like,
Oh, and that brings me.
Stupid horror energy does like to troll.
yeah.
But that brings me to my open invitation to John Maddox to come on this channel, and he can look at how well we treated Standing for Truth, and we will treat him well, unless he goes off on this bullshit, and then of course we won't treat him well. But I want him to come on this channel and defend any one of these fucking papers that he has in his directory, or the ones that he displayed here today that we'll take a look at as they
Oh,
pop
and
up.
by the way, let me just say this. I don't care if this is publicly stated. If he does come on the channel and treats like any of us like an asshole,
Oh,
there will be moderation out the wazoo in such a way that I will humiliate him just as hard as he humiliated me.
Yeah.
And so even if he
When
is
did he
making a
humiliate you?
logical point,
we tried
the
to.
point that- the point that is conveyed to the audience will make him look like a fool.
Mhm.
Yeah, but if he wants to come on and do it, if he wants to come on and actually show us that what is in these papers that he keeps bringing up. He's been bringing up papers for how long? 9 months now, and never has he actually addressed one of those papers in detail. And I invite you, Maddox, to come here, and we will go over the paper with reason and intellect, and take a look at what the paper says and see if it supports you. And the only paper that I will disallow, well, we might even do that one, is Abel and D'Onofrio, which he chose, because those guys are basically ideas in sheep's clothing. And we could go over one of those papers. That's where he gets the pragmatic semantics and syntax from. D'Onofrio, and that's also where we got ribosomal pausing from.
But here's the fun thing, right? You can play this game with Maddox, and for those of you that are interested in playing along at home, and you feel like joining this community, go into a conversation with Maddox and just agree with every point he makes, and then ask the following question. Okay, but how do those points prove your God?
Yeah, or how do those points disprove evolution, which is what Godless Engineer attempted to do at least 5 times during this debate.
The thing is, so like the earlier thing, like you mentioned, this is the first time I believe like he has directly like referenced some of the papers that are in that folder. So if nothing else, and if he's mentioned them earlier, congrats. I'm glad that you're finally learning how to be a somewhat decent human being and a somewhat decent debater. But also, I'm glad that you're showing us your sources. Because the more fun step now is, now that you've chosen to be honest with us about the papers you use, it's going to be that much more fun to tear you a new one.
Yeah, no, and take a look at them.
Honest? That guy? Come on. Maddox wouldn't know honesty if it bit him in the ass.
Well, he'd be afraid to go over one of those papers because he really doesn't know what those papers say.
It wouldn't hit him hard enough if his wife divorced him.
I know.
I think that happened already, so I don't know.
Well,
oh, where does this universal? Okay, 2009. Eugene Koonin was talking about the tRNA adapter problem. And anyway, we got to get to some stuff here.
Naturalism and its foundation of Darwinian evolution is nothing but a cloud of smoke which is decimated by the wind of rational thought and logical analysis. We are told that evolution is a settled and
That was well written. You got to hand it to him.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was still arrogant. It was still
yeah, it's arrogant and condescending.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but
It's well
That's
written.
that's the only time he actually wrote coherent sentences that didn't run on that I've ever heard. So, I mean, so
Michael,
kudos to John.
Michael, let's just remember the following point. A well-crafted shit sandwich is still a shit sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I had a buddy that used to love saying, life is a shit sandwich. Every day you take another bite. And he overdosed on heroin, fell on a rock, and killed himself out in California at 26. He was an amazing guy. Anyway.
Thanks for the random tangent. Back to
it was a random tangent. Yeah, we really liked him. He was this big dude. He would eat like 50 vitamins every morning, and if he stayed over at your house, he was this really big guy. He would say, "You got any eggs?" And he would make himself like 14 eggs.
Jesus, fucking Gaston.
Boy,
he would just inhale your refrigerator for breakfast, and it was like, oh shit.
Eat 5 dozen eggs.
Randy, his name was. Anyway, I won't give his last name.
Proven science. Its very foundation is based upon the assumption that information can come from nothing. If this is so, why then does all modern science prove beyond doubt that life cannot reproduce?
Hold on. What did he say? Information can come from nothing?
The very foundation is based upon the principle that information can come from nothing.
Yeah, okay, that's the first straw man, which is his entire argument. And he's going to repeat it like 9 times during this debate, at least, in one fashion or another.
Okay,
and
the thing
is on the low side.
I remember this debate quite well. Maddox, please cite a source that gives that claim that evolution states that information is not a fundamental, that information is fundamentally an amaterial process that exists in evolution.
That comes from nothing.
Yeah.
Yep. He gets into the immaterial stuff a little later, too.
Without the genetic code housed in our DNA. In any other context, a person would be considered...
Okay, he uses the word context in here 25 times. I counted.
Insane to insist that a language of any kind, spoken or written, could form without consciousness and intellect being required.
Oh my!
I ask you, would any rational person?
The metaphor. DNA is like a language. It's not a language itself.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, right? I could get behind the fact that like DNA is a literal language in terms of like its actual function and its similarity towards, like, in its resemblance towards like logic gates and AND gates and OR gates and stuff like that. The thing is, though, that you have to remember that those types of things are always built upon a set of logical rules.
Well, I mean, Christopher, I think if I remember correctly, Christopher said that Maddox was wrong about that, so they're not logic gates.
Okay, we're going to get to that, but let's look at these words. Okay, language. Language, the common meaning of language is the words that we speak to each other to communicate, and that's one common usage. But then, what the hell's his name? The famous language guy who's also kind of a commie.
Turtle?
No, I'll think of it. Anyway, so he analyzed language in detail, and they came up with a number of basically a mathematical analysis of language. And then some people in around 1995, even earlier than that, actually started looking at information in cells, biological cells, as language or communication, information. So then came in the word information and communication. And we have still another usage of the word language when you're talking about biology, when you talk about, and no real professional wants to talk about language unless, of course, they do it in an analytical fashion. Well, then we have code. So we have programming code. That's one thing. And then we have the DNA code, which is the 3 nucleotide code. And that's what they meant by it. And I mean, we're going to use these words and these concepts to represent physical systems, right? Because we're trying to figure this out as a dynamical physical system. And these pinheads like this, they hear the word language, and what they hear is the common usage of language, which is a way to communicate. But okay, what did God do? God wrote down the language code in the DNA to communicate with who? Who's he communicating with? So it's using it in that common way is bullshit. But Maddox basically equivocates, and he goes from one definition to the other, and that is his entire argument. That's the only argument he's got in this entire fucking debate.
Well, here's the thing, too, though, right? Like, even from a linguistic standpoint, I mean, if you define language to be like a set of shared characteristics between two or more entities, or something like that. The thing is, you have to remember, like, when you construct logic gates or any kind of functions that describe like Boolean or other like logical operations, those types of operations are always have like some kind of like logical contingency. Like there is a predicate for what it means, like if the criteria is true or false. Like the language needs something for it to, like, as a basis for it to be correct or not. And
go ahead.
in the case of like DNA and genetics, it's no different. The rules that govern that are the rules of chemistry and physics. And whether or not the genetics works, like for instance, he'll bring up the fact that AUG is the literal, is literally like the meaning for start, like to begin transcription in a genetic code. Well, no, that's not exactly true.
Yeah.
Some pseudogenes still have AUG elements that don't have promoter and enhancer regions that prevent them from being fully transcribed. But in a more generous sense, like when you do have an AUG codon, what you also need is you need the polymerase activity acting upon that set of triplets for it to transcribe a gene, right?
Yep.
So it's not just the AUG itself, it's the set of those chemical transformations that are defining the function of that system.
Well, here's the other thing. When you have a logic gate, you've got two wires going in, and if you raise them to 5 volts, then you have a 1-1 on the input. You're doing A and B, okay? And then you have an output, which is C, and C, the semantic, the meaning of C is A and B. That's a logic gate. When you do that, unless your logic gate is broken, unless it's smoking, if there's plastic and fire coming out of it, then it no longer works. But unless it's smoking, it always raises C to 5 volts, right? So you always have A and B equals C. When you have two enzymes that are required to attach to some protein and give it some other function, that does not always happen. That is, it's analog. Right.
Like for instance, in GPC, in the GPC family proteins, one of the things that can happen is you have like primary and secondary messengers, and based upon like the abundance like that are in cells, like I believe magnesium and calcium are both examples of secondary factors that influence the activity of those proteins. But the point being is that there's certain, like if the concentration of calcium per se, like is too high in a cell, it will prevent like the next step of protein signaling between GPC or GPC family proteins.
Right. It's about that we can understand, so we can see the function, but it is not what actually happens in the cell. I mean, it's not that clean.
To put things very gently, like with cells, biochemical reactions and cellular behavior, a lot of it can be summed up in terms of changing and interacting concentration gradients both inside and outside of a cell.
Yeah.
And that's a very complicated process, even though it can be stated quite clearly.
Okay, so then the other thing is looking at what happens in the cell as a programming language. That is even worse yet, because programming languages, when you write if A, then do this. If A is true, then do this always happens. There's never a case where it's like, well, maybe it'll happen. Maybe he meant if, I mean, and if you got if, then you got and you got or, and you got not. And that does not a programming language make. Programming languages are much richer in syntax and what they do. You may print something out, you may affect the outer world, or you may have a function that returns something. There's nothing in the cell that's anything like a programming language. And I wish the fuck people would realize that. I mean, if you're not a programmer, if you don't really know how to program, then fuck off.
Well, like you were saying, like for instance, what is it? I believe the if gate its logical operation simply requires one of the operations to be true. So if you have A and B, 1 is true, 0 is false. It either will accept the input, like if you program it to accept A, it'll accept either 1, 0 or 1, 1.
Yeah.
But it won't accept 0, 1 or 0, 0.
Yeah, but it's precise. And
that's the point.
And that is the most simplistic look at programming languages. Programming languages are much richer. And programming languages have generators. Basically, they have a set of syntactic rules, and they generate valid syntax for the program. And there's a certain set. And there's nothing in cells that does anything like that. So I just wish people would stop using that particularly really bad analogy. It pisses me off. Okay, where are we? Shall we go forward? Well, I don't know. Should we go forward with this bullshit or?
Let's let him go until he goes into the video itself, because the video, like that he has planned, is just.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Numerous languages used for the software and design of hardware required for this debate. Could they possibly somehow spring into existence by chance?
Straw man, again, spring into existence by chance. What the fuck does that?
Where did Midnight go?
Without intelligence and logic, can
Did
any
he
of these
leave
concepts
again?
be divided? I would say no, but I shall let the words of my opponent address this question. I leave the determination of his rationality to you, the audience.
This brings me to what my next video will explain in much more detail, and that is the genetic code, and more importantly, the information it contains. Atheists desperately attempt to avoid the premise that it actually can.
Stop using premise.
I would say let's not watch this particular thing, because this video here is not very well. It goes all over the place in a way.
He uses the word premise 18 times.
He doesn't this is supposed to be his opening statement, right?
It is.
So I watched most of it last night. I was gone for like 30 seconds or so. But yeah, I watched most of it last night, and he really doesn't address like the topic.
Right. So here's the thing, right? And this is the critical kind of flaw with the way this debate happened, is that in this video, at least, Logical LPP manages to use his videos in a way that tries to refute Godless Engineer's overall points or overall response. It tries to make him look like a fool.
Well, he's picking
but it does
on him about the Coke thing, you know?
Yeah, and from what I recall, those videos don't actually play in their full runtime in order to illustrate his own argument for how his idea of DNA being a language is actually how he substantiates DNA being an actual language, and number two, how that point actually invalidates evolution and proves an intelligent designer.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. What else does he do here? Okay. Well, we could skip a little bit of this, but
I don't know. I think that the topic of the debate was kind of a poor topic to choose because it's ID versus naturalistic evolution. So Godless Engineer was under the impression that he was going in to debate evolution, whereas John Maddox was just trying to debunk abiogenesis and stuff the whole time.
Yeah, and
so they were arguing literally two different things.
Yeah, and G kept trying to get him back on track, and he couldn't.
Maddox particularly views abiogenesis as one of the central issues to evolution.
Yeah. But with the topic that allows him to do it, if it was literally just creation versus evolution, that would be different.
But what's tried to have been explained to him multiple times is that evolution assumes that populations exist. It assumes that these populations are, that they're here and that they reproduce, that they have the means to do that by whatever means.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out evolution will also tell you, will give you mechanisms for how particularly genetic information transforms and gets distributed over time. Mm-hmm. But it by no means requires an explanation for how it got there. Now, to kind of have a more general understanding of the first, of more ancient life forms and how they behaved and how they were formed, yes. Then you do require an understanding of how protocells and the first cellular life could have come into being from chemical reactions and dynamic physiochemical processes. But that's beyond the scope of evolution.
I have somebody in the chat that agrees with me. That's
fair.
Yeah. Stop with the programming analogy. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Do y'all know who like George Church is and stuff?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
Church?
Yeah, he's head of genomics at Harvard, basically.
Oh, that's somebody else. Okay, I'm thinking of lambda calculus and Church.
Yeah. Well, like one of his big things is like using DNA as, since it's a base 4 system, for like computing and information storage, right? And like, that's something that he's looking into because he thinks it's, pretty revolutionary. I mean, you're basically doubling the base system. So it makes information storage a lot more efficient. But outside of like basic analogies and stuff, I don't think the argument about like genetic code works. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain just because it's a very different like format, I guess. Is that the best way to describe it?
Entirely. I mean,
yeah.
Like, in the way that conventional programming languages and codes work, there's nothing like on the surface like that's remotely like analogous to how genetics actually works.
Mm-hmm.
Like on a conceptual level, yes. Like you can draw similarities between the genetic code and an actual like language and things like that. But the way like replication and like translation and things like that actually end up happening to occur is something that's not at all like something that seems to be relatable to like any kind of programming language.
Yeah, I hope you have it timestamped where Maddox is claiming that like MR like the codon recognition isn't a chemical reaction.
Yeah, I think
right about,
okay, good.
So the thing is, right, it shows his ignorance in that chemical interactions happen in one of two different ways. Mm-hmm. Like in a broad sense, you can have chemical reactions that where two molecules do actually physically interact and exchange parts of each other. But chemical interactions can also be in terms of intermolecular and intramolecular forces. So intermolecular forces are electronic forces within a compound, rather. Mm-hmm. And intramolecular interactions are interactions that occur like between molecules of the same type.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't most of like mRNA codon recognition done through like hydrogen bonding between the different bases?
Yeah. It relies on hydrogen bonding between I believe it's modified bases in the tRNA loops.
Yeah.
And the tRNA strand and the parent tRNA strand that's being read.
Yeah, and Maddox, somewhere in this debate, he makes the point that there's no connection between the codon and the amino acid that gets added. And as it turns out, and then he claims if you read all the current papers, well, if he had read the current papers on abiogenesis, how many papers have we found in the last 3 months where they talk about the stereochemical necessity or the basically the pathway that makes those adapter molecules rather probable?
Yeah, rather efficient.
Yeah, and if it not only probable but efficient, but it has to do with stereochemistry. So the code was not that random. So it was just not randomly picked. But you can if you make the biosemiotics case, and I could draw you a picture. We were talking about the triangle of biosemiotics. It makes sense according to their fitting biosemiotics onto that process, and that's what they were doing at the Royal Society in 2016. And I did link the Royal Society issue in 2016 that Mom Maddox is constantly talking about. It's in there. So
mm-hmm.
And the thing is, what's very curious is like there are interesting researchers who, even in origin of life research, are kind of considered more fringe. But Lee Cronin, for instance, who's a very well-known researcher, is interested about the question of can you build like processes which resemble like lifelike systems that don't use conventional that aren't conventional. So, for instance, he's mostly interested in in physiochemical processes that metals can facilitate.
Mhm.
Like, okay, can metals permit small molecules to pass through them, like to be transmitted or to be not trans. Yeah, I think it is transmitted between like one side of a sheet to another. The answer to that, yes. Can metals facilitate certain kinds of chemical reactions? Also, yes. The one thing that's kind of uncertain about metals, though, is that can you have some type of inorganic metallic system that's capable of self-replicating? And that'll be interesting if the answer is also yes.
Yeah, he's working on exobiology, basically, or kind of exobiology, and just trying to show what can happen with different systems. There are many pathways to life. I think should we skip ahead, or
Yeah, I think so.
we'll try skipping to something here. But hey, I'm going to try something that might fail.
It's okay.
I would say
Oh,
no.
I failed.
But
I failed. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm trying to sort my bookmarks. Got a high chat replay. Oh, it worked. It worked. It did not fail. It didn't fail. No, it failed. Fucking failed. Okay, it didn't help. Okay, who's this guy?
I don't know.
There needs to be no question that communication theory applies to biology. Okay, all of these concepts can be applied.
Right. Okay, so this guy just verifies that anybody who doesn't call DNA a code is ignorant. And if you look at Seigart's video, he makes a case for the same. And it's like, oh, whatever you want to do. I mean, it is a code and it isn't a code. It's just not the kind of code they think it is.
The thing is, like, this distinction really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because the distinction that should be occurring is, even if it is a code, which all people recognize, well, what should be recognized by all parties is that if it is a code, what is the mechanism by which the code is operating? Like, under what set of logical rules is the code having a basis in? And that question, it seems that we all agree upon, except for Maddox, which is the laws of chemistry and physics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you can ask this guy, okay, well, how are the semantics of this system? What is it ultimately being rooted in? He'll probably say genetics, chemistry, and physics.
Well, I would hope so.
Anyway, let's see, 10:47. So there's something at 10:38. What is? Oh, I know. What's happening?
There needs to be no question that communication theory applies to biology.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, all of these concepts.
I already did that, didn't I?
And again, the
Nope,
only people
sorry.
that have
Damn. Hang on a second. Where's Dennis Noble? We got to talk about Dennis. Here we go.
And Kevin Ham is from Vancouver.
Okay, so he points out Dennis Noble, who got these people together. We're offering $1 and $10 million prizes for anybody that creates a system that self-creates basically a coding system, that sort of thing. And
I think so.
Now, the reason that these two guys, they got a lot of money, and the reason that they're investing in this along with the other 9 or 10 investors is that they really want to see this happen, because this is something that we are actively studying right now, self-assembly of systems, because it's very important to the pharmaceutical industry. If these guys,
yeah, that's precisely the idea.
Billions, trillions, yeah.
Well, and this is precisely the idea, right? And it's not just like you can hypothetically expand the genetic code to include more than just 4 letters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could create a completely different type of life altogether, like that uses a system that's not the same as like what viruses and all these other microorganisms use, then you could develop therapeutic treatments that aren't initially suspect to being attacked by these biological organisms that are trying to essentially keep their stake in the body, or whatever kind of thing you're trying to fight it against.
Now, let's see what the challenge is here. Let's see what they say.
Canada, and we have just taken part in the United Kingdom launch of a huge prize to be won by anybody who can produce the genetic code or a genetic code via natural process generating it itself. Perry, have I got that right, first of all?
Yep. So Dennis Noble is the crackpot genius, fringe crackpot genius. He really does have a lot of good points, and he is into biosemiotics and information. But he is also the asshole that allowed that paper on lobsters from outer space, or no, octopus from outer space. Octopi from outer space. Yeah, he's the one that, because he has so much influence, he managed to let that paper go by, because he interviews politicians and stuff on his British talk show, and his idea is that we're going to let any idea in the door, no matter how fucking crazy and whacked out it is. So you gotta keep an eye on Dennis Noble. He's he can do some crazy crackpot shit, but on the other hand, one should listen to Dennis Noble and read his books, because he does have valid points. So it's my feeling on him so far. Anyway, I haven't finished his dance book yet, but I'm working on it.
That's right. Any code, any encoding, message decoding system that can come out of an emergent property.
Damn, dude, there's 10 million on the line for this one. I guess you just need to fly over to Oxford, go meet up with the Royal Society, and tell them how they've been completely duped on this entire premise of the genetic code actually being a real code, and that they don't need to be remotely associated with it, because it could completely decimate their credibility as academics.
So that's what he got out of that. That's what he got out of it, which has nothing to do with what the thing is about, right? And his other point is that nobody's claimed the prize yet, so obviously only God can claim the prize, because God's only God is smart enough to do this, pull this off. But I don't know. But anyway,
here's the thing.
When was that challenge issued?
It was a year. I think it was a year or two ago, something like that.
2018, 2016, I think.
But it's as young men, it's something you guys should look at, because you get $1 million if you have something. If you have something that's even slightly viable, and then they will work with you and fund you, and then you get 10 million if you pull it off. But not only do you get 10 million, but you get royalties on the patents that they create for the rest of your life. So you're looking at $1 billion proposition here. So if I were
my major,
if I were 20 years old, this is where I'd be working. I mean, this would be it, because I would get a computer science degree, but not the bullshit kind that teaches you Java, the kind that teaches you lambda calculus and Alonzo Church and all of that stuff. I'll get a real computer science degree, and then get a real molecular biology degree, and go to work at about 30. By the time you're 40, 50, you'll be a billionaire. So
the thing is that this problem, like this question of abiogenesis and the more general question of self-emerging lifelike systems, is a question that I don't think will be answered till at least another 20, 30 years from now, probably.
Yeah.
I think there's some significant hurdles that stand with the field. I mean, the essentials seem to be there. The essentials of, okay, can you get systems that self-replicate? Yes, you can. So you can have lipid world systems that self-replicate. Can you have systems that store information? Yes, you can have a variety of systems that do that. Peptide nucleic acids can do that. 3-ose nucleic acids can do that. And also you can have RNA strands that self-assemble into a decently high-fidelity replicator and preserves the identity of the strand. And I think now the question is going to be, okay, how do we take, for instance, the metabolism world hypothesis and the lipid world hypothesis and put them together? How do we integrate these hypotheses together to see what are the mechanisms that govern some kind of hybrid between lipid world and metabolism, or lipid world and replication, or things like that.
You hear me typing?
I
Yep.
do hear you typing.
Is
Do
that
you hear the
aggravating?
rain outside my house?
What?
Do you hear the massive thunderstorm that's right above me right now?
Our
No.
power was out from 2 o'clock until 1 p.m.
Yeah.
And-
If I disappear, that's why.
I was so freaked out because I got up at 4 o'clock and I had to read with with a little tiny light. Then I found some lanterns, but I felt like I couldn't have hot coffee. It was unbelievably bad for me. I was very traumatized.
You know, maybe I could use power to go out. I feel like there's certain devices I just become like, you know, it's to the point where like I'm not super productive just because like I'm on my Switch so much and stuff.
Yeah, well, actually, I read like 100 pages of this book, The Demon, and so I read one of those intermediate books. And if the power would go out more often, I would get a lot more of those books read because that was it. Because I couldn't stand to study because I couldn't see to draw pictures and stuff. So I just picked one of the, and I was gonna do the one that you talked me into, Wonderful Life, but
Yeah.
I got tired. The Demon is about what we're talking about. It's about information.
Mm-hmm.
And it very interesting, and I got some very interesting stuff that I want to talk about in that book as I go through it. But then when the lights came on, I'm like, praise the Lord, I've seen the light. It's like, I mean, I could hear Jesus talking to me when my air conditioner fired up. I don't know if that's bad or not, but
Was it as intense as when was it as intense as when oh god, James Tour finally became a Christian? And
I think so. But all he really said was, it's gonna be cool. That's what he said. I heard him saying that.
wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. And that was a message from God. So
It's gonna be really cool, my guy.
it's gonna be cool, and it is cool in here right now. Not so much outside.
In the information age we currently enjoy,
Blah.
to me, it's a completely implausible concept to conclude that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, WordPress, apps, or any of the other aspects of technology that utilize software.
Okay, you hear he lists all the script kiddie languages, HTML, JavaScript, CSS. It's like WordPress, not a fucking language. It's a stupid ass site where you build cheap little web
The point has to be stated though is that okay, oh, I'm John Maddox, I don't think this is plausible. Okay, why should anybody, and this goes for me too, I mean, and anybody who wants to talk on the internet, why should anybody give a fuck about what any of us have to say, regarding some topic? You should not be convinced by the types of arguments I make, right? I'm a fallible person, I can make mistakes. The information I present could be mistaken, and I will probably need to correct that at a future date. Go read articles. Like, find people who are experts in the field and see what they're saying. Because most times, if you have an intuition about something and it's something scientific, it's probably going to be wrong.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite points, that like science is pretty much just never intuitive.
No, it isn't. And that's a beautiful thing about it, though, is that sometimes the most beautiful solutions that pop out of science, like some of those beautiful explanations, are the things that are like the least intuitive of them all. And I would have it no other way. I mean, it's fascinating to see kind of like how nature chooses to, have systems operate and work dramatically efficiently.
I got something here at 1440 and 14. What is the other 14? I got 1427. Let's try that one.
Oh, man.
And while it continues to fascinate me that people such as Godless Engineer continue to make these same assertions, I'm just going to pull up a few papers real quick
the papers.
and scroll through them on how the genetic code, it's a universal enigma from Eugene Koonin. I mean, he's a very high level, actually an atheist.
Yeah. Okay, so I got the Koonin paper here. We could look at that. And let's see, summary. The genetic code is nearly universal. The arrangement of codons in the standard code table is highly non-random. The three main concepts on the origin and evolution of code are the stereochemical theory, according to which codon assignments are dictated by physiochemical affinity between amino acids and the cognate codons, anticodons. Coevolution theory, and he covers a few others. And it's just a general article, and it's from 2009. And Kunin fights with the others a little bit, but anyway, this is one of the papers. But I don't think John has read or understood this paper. It is how many pages? Yeah, he goes through and he gets pretty deep into the whole pathway thing. So this, on our paper, if we ever do paper trails, we should start doing things like this and see what they have to say. So, by the way, I did not get a copyright strike on. Will I get a copyright strike if I say copyright strike? I don't know.
You
We'll find out.
would have to have the word copyright strike.
Anyway,
Copyrighted.
my Roy Rogers song made it past the censors. So I like that as a theme song for paper trails. Hang on a second. Well, let's go ahead.
He admits that there's a code, and it's a major conundrum for origin of life.
Okay, this is bullshit. He keeps saying this over and over. Major conundrum for evolutionists. Major problem for evolution. I mean, these guys, they have just discovered science. Like John started reading science 9 months ago. Prior to that, he wouldn't know RNA if it bit him on the ass. And he doesn't know a hell of a lot more right now, but it's constantly everything they discover, they think is some brand new thing that, we just discovered this.
Known about since the 80s.
Yeah, but then he's showing fucking papers from 2009 and 2003 and 1998. He tries to hit the newer papers so that he doesn't have that criticism leveled at him, but he still does it. So anyway, let's go on here. This is Whitson. I also have that paper, and we can take a look at that one. 2 genetic codes, repetitive syntax for active non-coding RNAs, non-repetitive syntax for, I don't know what the hell this one is about, but we'll look at it. But he just flashes these papers to show that he has them. We need to do this because I probably have 3,000 papers on this computer. And we need to show them all. Like in one video,
if we flash them on screen, they would actually be saying what we claimed they said.
Right. Or we could just cherry pick some quotes on each one of them and do 3,000 of them in one video, and then we win the argument, right?
Well, according to their rules, that's correct.
Let's run this for a while. I got to read a long chat from Vesta.
Got things like dual syntax. I'm pretty sure that syntax is a component of coding and programming. Go figure. Apparently that doesn't exist, but here's evidence that it does. And then here we can really get into some fun stuff where not only is the genetic code have its own programming logic, translational pausing is a subset syntax and code base, which enables a dual control from a timing perspective. We're talking about 3D printing logic rules that are executed through the ribosome through the dual syntax in the genetic code that supposedly isn't a code, even though it houses all sorts of controls, including space and time, which I think is just fascinating. Then you go over into, here's another paper on how computational theory applies to genetics.
I didn't download this one.
I mean, you can just go on and on and on with all these different pieces, and you get into information. And here's some interesting stuff about
son of a bitch.
Prescriptive information and formal. Get into information, and here's some interesting stuff about prescriptive information and formal information.
Okay, you see this? D'Onofrio and Enable. Basically this whole paper is making a case for intelligent design, and these guys have probably about 100 papers out, and they've gotten quite a few of them published. And there were a few fiascos where, like the editor, they got fired for publishing Able. So I have to look into that. PZ Myers talks about it. So anyway, anytime he comes up with a D'Onofrio and Able, he is so full of shit, because these guys, they spew out a bunch of garbage that basically uses the language of biosemiotics, and then they make the case that evolution can't happen without intelligence. So it's
they're about the seculars raw maths paper.
Yeah, and they are also the ribosomal people, or the ribosomal pausing people, and I keep pointing that out because that was one of their arguments. They picked out ribosomal pausing and the Shine-Delgado sequence and made a big thing of it when it's not really that big a thing in biochemistry. So,
and how it requires forethought and logic in order for the ciphers and the algorithms to be executed. But according to my opponent, none of this stuff actually exists.
There's just no logical, plausible, and probable conclusion you can reach that says binary code will magically transform into syntax, semantics, pragmatics, and all the other if, then, and else logic rules.
okay, so what the hell did he just say? Binary code. Where is there an instance of binary? What is he talking about? Can somebody explain this to me?
Can you rewind it so we can go like frame by frame?
Required for any semantics, pragmatic reach that.
But according to my opponent, none of this stuff actually exists.
There's just no logical, plausible, and probable conclusion you can reach that says binary code will magically transform into syntax, semantics, pragmatics, and all the other if, then, and else logic rules that are required for any type of programming to actually work.
Does he know what binary means? Like the word binary?
Means two things.
Yeah, he's talking about the genetic code, which is not binary.
Yeah, what case is he trying to make here? I mean, he's trying to say that I don't know, you have to have a compiler, but it doesn't go. And then he talks about HTML and CSS compiling into binary. That's not quite what happens. That's bullshit. So when he talks about binary code, he barely knows what he's talking about.
There's just no logical, plausible, and probable conclusion you can reach that says binary code will magically transform into syntax, semantics, pragmatics, and all the other if, then, and else logic rules that are required for any type of programming to act.
Okay, that is Maddox at maximum bullshit level. He's turned his bullshit up to max, and yes, yeah, that is really some solid. I mean, it's so bad that it twists your brain around, and I can actually feel my brain flipping in my skull, and it's sort of an unsettling feeling. It's just, where do we go next here? Okay.
The term mental gymnastics, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, mental gymnastics. Let's see. Here we go. 16. So I've got, what else do I have marked? Where's the earliest 20s? 26. I think we get to basically
actually work.
He goes through the rest of his
station of existing functions to account for environmental conditions.
Yeah, we got to stop here. Okay.
Molecule racing along
I haven't seen this. Actually, wait, I'm pretty sure I used this exact video in my first video. Like I used a clip of it.
You didn't get a strike on this?
No.
I know Smokey did on one of them. So anyway, the thing I want to point out about this shit is that if you were to look at a cell, you would not see this stuff at all. I mean, these are artist renditions of biochemical pathways, things that happen.
Oh, for sure.
But it's and I mean it's misleading.
It's unzipping the double helix and copying one of the two strands.
Yeah. And you turn the volume up high enough. Let's go to the end of this.
Here are 5 positions which challenge the premise of undirected evolution through natural selection being a logical, plausible, or probable reason for our existence. First, adaptation of existing functions to account for environmental condition variance is primarily executed through epigenetic factors which do not result in new core functions. This is
that literally makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. No. I think what he's saying is that the epigenetics is, and that's the other thing. We've known about epigenetics for a long time, and a long time in terms of biochemistry, and they think it's something that we just discovered, and it's a big problem for evolution. And it's about gene regulation. That is what it's about. And the term has grown considerably in biology in the last 20 years.
A known fact, and the epigenome is a fundamental element which has shaken the entire premise of evolution to its core.
Yeah. Why? What? How did it do that, John? Tell me exactly how the fuck it did that. Nothing has been shaken to its core. Epigenetics is just how genes express. We knew that there was variable expression in different tissue types. Electro Presto solid shooter. Okay, the electric Presto solid shooter. It's at least you get a salad at the end of that, you know.
Presto salad shooter.
Yeah, you never. I'm sure you don't want one, but at least you get a salad at the end of that word salad, or at the end of that crazy ass thing. But you're not going to get one tonight. You're not going to get one tonight.
Not only are these adaptations the result of variable gene expression caused by epigenetics, they are not the result of mutations. Rather, are controlled modifications executed through read, write, and erase.
Wait. What do you think a mutation is?
Yeah.
I think that's one of Dan's questions.
Hold on. Do you think a mutation isn't a modification or like the swapping of one nucleotide for another? Oh, Jesus Christ. Come on.
No, what he's referring to here is these guys think that evolution, that speciation after the ark, after the little bunnies hopped off the ark, that all of that happened because of epigenetics. And that's the case that's standing for truth. And this jerk are making over and over again. And this is, am I wrong about that? I mean, is that not what he's saying? It's not about mutation.
That much from it.
They always say it's like epigenetic and then also just selection pressures on existing heterozygosity, from what they call it. God, I want to see. Okay, this is another thing that I don't get. Like, these are testable models. You can make predictions on this, so why don't you go measure it? Go write a paper. I mean, Ramat tried, and we learned that he can't do algebra or statistics.
Yeah,
Ramat also learned that he can't put phony logos from magazines on top of his papers.
Oh my God. Yeah, I still find it hilarious how he's just trying to pretend that it didn't happen.
Yeah, I know he hasn't mentioned anything, and they blocked us in comments.
Yeah.
So
for anyone watching that doesn't know. Oh, what were you going to say, Mito?
He got his hand caught in the cookie jar, and now he's trying to pretend like it never happened.
Yeah, but you know what? We're going to mention it every single time we get together for the next year. Okay, promise?
For sure.
Pinky promise.
I think Dapper wants to cover this whole fraud that happened, but no, I know for a fact that he has at least me, Speed of Sound, Dr. Dan, and Covert Cuttlefish all like blocked on his channel. At least that many. So
let me know when he does that, because I do want to be there for sure. So
yeah,
because I got the story. It all came from Redefined Living, who was like challenging me with a real paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Redefined Living is in Dr. Dan's chat, or he's in the comments. So I asked him about the brain trust. He hasn't gotten back to me about it yet, but I want to know what he thinks about Ramat literally lying to him.
Yeah. So he's got a picture here from a basic textbook with showing you how, epigenetics, some of it works, and how genes are expressed. And of course, we have the histone bundles here for people that don't know about this shit. And there's various, there's 20, I think there's about 27 different things that can happen, different kinds of chemical reactions that can change, unbundle pieces of DNA, block them or promote them or whatever. So, and that is epigenetics, and that's how cells work. And I think we knew that in 1980 or prior. There was a period, there was the gene only sort of period around Dawkins in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. But it's, that's a long time ago, as I can attest. I am old.
Second, it is my position that macroevolution is not proven by speciation, nor by variance.
Nobody gives a fuck about your opinion.
While Darwinists attempt to explain this with very slow changes over time, it is now known that literally thousands of genes and gene regulatory networks working in synchronicity are required for new body plans to exist.
It is now known. How long? I don't know. I was reading about this stuff 15 years ago. I don't know what they're talking about. Like this is all supposed to be new to us? What a jerk.
Not only does they work in unison.
God, this is...
It's interesting that these are the parts that he doesn't cite sources for.
I know. I tried to find this particular diagram in Google Images, and I couldn't because that looks pretty fucking cool. I want to find out what's happening here.
It's a lot of pretty colors.
Wait a minute. Does that say Maddox right there? No.
Hold on. What does the bottom part of that image say?
What do I
Bottom
see?
right.
Huh? Bottom right. Post gastrulator terminal or peripheral downstream genes. So we got endoderm, WEG1. So WEG1 is a gene. We got it. Okay, this is probably.
What is it again?
I read about this today. This is the diagram I think they did at Berkeley. I got to look into this and find this, but it's basically tissue development or embryo development, I believe, is what this is. But it's hard to say because he never cites it, never gives us a source. Maybe if we look through his papers, we'll find it. I don't know. Got lots of papers.
It has been shown extremely minor modifications are fatal in embryo development.
Duh. That's how fucking purifying selection works, dude. That's why genetic entropy is not a thing. Because sometimes it's fatal, other times not so much. Other times, one of these pathways, like I was reading one of the papers, or I was reading a paper today. Anyway, one of the papers were talking about bacteria. They have when they're stressed, they go into hypermutation, and there are certain pieces of the genome that are hypermutatable. And then when they end up in an environment where the shit has hit the fan, it'll turn out that one of those mutations, because of this hypermutation, will lock into one of these biochemical pathways. Of course, I think this is morphogenesis, not metabolism. But anyway, they will find a way to use whatever food is around. And some of those bacteria will survive, and they will eat the rest and take over the colony. And that's just something we know about. And those are de novo genes. Those are brand new functional genes that they found. And there are a number of papers on that. That's what I was searching for, is de novo genes. So it does happen. Yeah, I think so. Well, as long as he's bent over, we're gonna keep ramming it up there. We're not gonna let it go. He will never forget this one. I don't think he'll be coming out of the woodwork too soon, but he's their main scientist. When he comes around, they're like, "Oh, Ramed is here. Now we have some real science entered the room." It's like, yeah, okay, let's just check that out. Let's fact check a little bit of that shit.
I'm still amazed.
Well, I do not discount that variants can occur on a contained level.
Do we have a comment?
What's the timestamp for that particular thing we just saw?
What?
What's the particular timestamp we just saw for that?
20, probably around 1930.
Okay.
Yeah, see if you can find that. I want to see that pathway. And here we have something from Cell, I think, basically the 4D.
It is my strong contingency that these are the result of reorganization.
Okay, it is my strong contingency. Did he not just fuck that word all up?
I think he means extension.
Okay, we can't pick on him for that, because as we know, when it gets late, I fuck up too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as you have pointed out numerous times. Immutable, thank you for that.
An adaptation of existing data and function.
Ready?
Yep.
Functional capacity, not the creation of new information or function solely through random mutation and natural selection. Third, the variation of transcription factors in gene regulatory networks results in a significant difference in gene expression. To date, the most studied of these are in relation to cognitive function and show a 9 to 23%.
Yeah, no, not the most studied. I mean, no, there's 10,000 papers on this, rather simplistic basis of biology is what you're looking at. But anyway, this is another diagram that I would like to find because I'd like to read the paper involved in it. Basal ganglia gets me excited. I don't know about you guys, but I get excited over this one. So I want to see this. Then we have neural progenitor cells. So this must be embryology too. Interesting. Okay. Anyway.
In humans. It has also been shown these differences must work in unison, and any degradation of this, even to the level of point mutation, results in dynamic impairment or death. Not only does this showcase the extreme importance of gene regulation, it also decimates the relevance of similar coding genes in relation to final outcome. Moreover, the significant differences in non-coding regions of the genome become apparent for things ranging from introns, retrotransposons, enhancers, and promoters, to name a few, all of which have been dismissed by those against intelligent design. However,
okay, what did he just say? Let's play that again.
Made in the past dismissed. The significant differences in non-coding regions of the genome become apparent for things ranging from introns, retrotransposons, enhancers, and promoters, to name a few, all of which have been dismissed by those against intelligent design.
Who the hell? Who dismissed introns? And
I think he's trying to argue about like the functional fraction of the genome and all that stuff. So like he's basically like doing the encode thing.
I think he thinks he just him and the Standing for Truth Brain Trust just discovered all this stuff, and it tells you that intelligent design is real. I mean, it proves intelligent design, and biologists are dismissing introns.
Yeah, biologists have never heard of retrotransposons. Only the
or introns. Yeah. We were so shocked when we found introns. Basically.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what he's trying to argue is the functional fraction of the genome, which, I mean, okay, I think the fact that only a low amount of the genome is functional is pretty good evidence for evolution, just because, you know, evolution doesn't select for, like, what's going to work the absolute best. It only selects against what sucks, right? So, of course, it makes sense that we're going to have, like, a little bit of baggage and that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately it's not really a relevant argument. You know, You prove 80 to 100% of the genome's functional. Okay, good for you. I don't know.
Yeah, and it really can't be, because if you look at introns, there's only a few little parts. Introns are pretty long, a lot of them. And there are only just a few little areas that get locked onto for splicing. And those areas are important, and you can see that they're highly conserved, but the rest of it is not highly conserved. And I think introns amount to a really high percentage of the coding region. So I don't know if they call it, do they calculate that as part of the coding region? I'm not sure. But anyway, introns are areas where a lot of evolution can happen. You can end up with a vastly different protein that has some of the same functional domains in it.
Found the paper.
What's that?
I did find the paper.
Oh, you did? Oh, You did? With that picture?
Yes, I did.
Was it in his folder?
The paper itself, let's see.
Put it in chat.
Let's see. The paper is...
Do you got a wrench?
I think it does.
You should be wrenchy.
I don't have a wrench.
Huh?
What the fuck, Michael? I don't have a wrench.
Well, say something. I'll give you a wrench.
I am saying something.
What? It's not popping up.
It probably hasn't popped up on StreamYard yet.
It's in the private chat now.
Oh, well, he was saying, like, put it in the YouTube chat.
I know. Hold on. How do you look at me?
I think I have wrench powers. I have super wrench powers.
I'm pretty sure he already has a wrench. But
I still don't see you. I still don't see a comment from you in chat.
Hold on. God, get your panties in a...
You got a wrench.
Punch.
You got a wrench.
I do.
What the hell are you complaining about?
Complaining about you.
Why are you yelling at me, man?
Complaining about your bitching and moaning.
Stop it.
You stop it.
Okay, so where do we want to go? Do we want to? Oh, yeah. Well, this is. Give me direction, guys. Where shall we go? The next timestamp I have is at 26.
26.
Yeah, must be some good shit there. But well, let's see. He goes on a little bit.
The discoveries made in the past decade have made their relevance unavoidable. Fourth, it has now become apparent through structural biology that not only is the prescriptive information housed in the genetic code required, it must also be geographically coordinated through dynamic real-time folding to enable full gene expression.
That's from Cell.
This applies to interchromosomal data transfer, which not
I'm not going to
only
pick on him.
forces acceptance of physical gene locations being vital, it also decimates the relevance of similar sequences existing in another organism.
Ow.
But being
What the hell does that mean?
He didn't explain how that works, but okay.
Okay, but why is that? Why does that decimate the relevance of similar sequences in other organisms?
Because he said so, Speed. Stop being a meanie head.
Okay, I'm not going to be a meanie head then. I won't be mean to John. Let's see.
The paper is now in the chat, by the way.
I saw that. I also put it in the chat. You'll notice right above that there are two papers, and they're identical.
They are. Did you find it before me?
Oh, I haven't found it yet.
No. Why don't you look into it?
Well, okay. Let me play this, and you guys fill the dead air while I look for it.
Housed in a completely different physical location. Not only does this make sequence similarities irrelevant in relation to undirected natural selection, it actually lends credence to intelligent design. Fifth, the prescriptive information in our genetic code uses arbitrary values, the meaning of which is unknown without a translation mechanism.
Oh god,
Its semantic meaning is immaterial, and in no other context could it be interpreted without the prior actions of an intelligent agent. It is an unavoidable reality that our genetic code is a
tRNA is
programming
intelligent?
code base unlike anything humans have ever conceived.
What's that?
Well, I this argument to me just doesn't make sense because he argues that that like the genetic information is meaningless if there's nothing to translate it. The tRNA is what's translating it. It's
Right.
not an intelligent actor, right? There's nothing intelligent about tRNA.
Yeah, a couple times during this debate, he almost implies that it is not chemistry, and you caught one of them, right?
Yeah. I feel like half the time. I mean, obviously, I don't think he would say this, but a lot of his arguments almost sound like there's like
Magic.
like God is what's lining up the amino acids or some shit.
Yeah.
When all of this is viewed through the prior actions of an intelligent agent, and in no other context could it be interpreted without the prior actions of an intelligent agent. It is an unavoidable reality that our genetic code is a four-dimensional.
Oh, he's talking about foresight, that the intelligent agent must have created the code because there's a code. Well, somebody recently made the point that I think it was CRISPR in one of the chats on this debate, I think, made the point that if a river follows a path, it's turning right, it's turning left.
Mm-hmm.
Is it following a code? Did that need an intelligent designer?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a CRISPR comment. I do have all the comments too, I think, from yesterday.
CRISPR seems like a smart guy. I've never talked to him or anything.
What just happened? Oh, he's you got to listen to him talk. His talks with Standing for Truth, he just trumped all over Standing, and Standing had no idea how badly embarrassed he was made. And it's in some of his very early videos.
Oops. Okay. Well, I found the correct paper. The first one was not correct.
What? No, this is I found that. Well, it wasn't exact.
It's not the exact same thing.
It's a different one. Okay, so throw the right one up there. That was a PDF download, so that one was freely available.
This one is as well, I think. Maybe it's okay. That wasn't clever.
You could delete comments, but
I'm going to play this out while we're screwing around with papers.
Programming code base unlike anything humans have ever conceived. When all of this is viewed to the now known reality that not only must the information exist, it must also be in a specific physical location in the genome.
Oh, fuck
concludes
this.
that foreknowledge of the desired outcome is not required for life to exist.
Come on.
Requires those who dismiss intelligent design to suspend all rational thought. Therefore,
Blah, blah.
its initial creation by undirected physical process.
It seems, as far as my response to you. It seems, as far as my response to you. And then you give me a whole bunch of information that maybe you'll expound upon later. Because, I mean, I'm totally down with those things disproving evolution, but I really don't think that they have, considering that, evolution is still the leading is required for the diversity of life here. In fact, nothing in your introduction there really seemed to attack evolution, at least as far as I could tell, at least not direct.
Yeah. Look on Maddox's face. Are you guys still with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the other thing that you should watch during Maddox's presentation, his opening, Godless Engineer did, I think, 4 face palms, and he rolled his eyes about 15 times. I mean, it was just incredible.
Godless Engineer was face palming during Maddox's intro.
Yeah, he face palmed. He was he looked very depressed. He was thinking, "What the hell have I got myself into?" You know.
Yeah, it didn't seem like Godless Engineer was having much fun, especially like by the end of it.
No, and right here he was trying to tell Maddox that no, you did not attack evolution, even though somehow Maddox thinks that this syntax, semantics, and pragmatics somehow falsifies evolution, but it's in this little tiny bald head here, you know, somewhere. I don't know where, but you can see my cursor. Anyway, we got to figure out where it is in this area here. I'm not sure, but we will. We're working on it.
Correctly, these things might have indirect, arguments, against evolution, but I really didn't hear much of an argument. Maybe I just wasn't listening well enough or something. I'm not sure. Maybe you can explain that here in a minute. What I do know is that the current scientific consensus is that evolution is the most plausible explanation, but that's not the reason why it's true. The reason why it's true is because of the overwhelming evidence that has been supported experimentally and through observations and just through looking at, like, for instance, fossil evidence and all that kind of good stuff. So I would be interested to hear how John Maddox actually substantiates his claims, how these particular things actually disprove evolution. Maybe he could explain that. But yeah, I guess I'll cede the rest of my opening to get directly into discussion.
Okay, go ahead, since Godless Engineer just ended.
Where are we?
Big statement. I have come away with it.
We're at 25. Let me see. Where do we go next?
I think we should split this part into multiple videos.
What's that?
I think we should split multiple.
I think, and I think I'm going to work on some of this during the day and basically do some commentary, because we got a long way to go here. I mean, there's a whole lot, and we've been going for what, an hour and a half. Huh?
So maybe it's best to stop now, because now we're just getting to the fun part of their actual interaction.
Right.
Yeah, that was Maddox's opening.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got past the opening, so it's gonna. So I project that 2021, 2022 will be done with this.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, like, there's certain people that I don't see too much of a reason to, like, debate, and I think, like, for me, that list would include, like, Maddox and Smokey, just because they're just condescending assholes and they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and it's not worth debating standing for truth either, because he will just gallop by you.
Yeah, but he's at least, like, you can at least talk to him and he gives you time to make your points, right?
Yeah, he is better. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would talk to Standing for sure. I would talk to, like, I think my top on my creationist tier list, I think they top out at B tier. No, but my creationist tier list, the top 3 would be, like, Otangelo, Sal, and Standing. But
really? Otangelo made it onto your tier list?
Well, as far as, like, talking to, yeah. I mean, he's kind of dry to talk to, but he's a nice guy.
Oh, Sal is also very, very, very pleasant to talk to.
Yeah, well, that's why I said Sal. I think Sal's at the top of the list.
Okay, here's the difference with Sal Cordova. You can actually get him to dig into things and have a conversation with him. There is a point where he'll run into something that where if you get him thinking, he will defer and say, "I want to go and think about it," right? Which is fair. But Sal Cordova, you can actually talk to. Otangelo, you end up just pulling up his blog over and over again.
I want to see like a debate without internet access.
Yeah,
there you go.
With Otangelo, the issue I see having like conversations with him, it's not him himself. It's the fact that when you try to chat with him, right? Like he can bring up one topic, and that's fine. But it's that he will never stay on that one topic. Like he will continuously like move the topic around to like several thousand other areas, and it's like, no, please stick to one topic at a time. Like I don't care. Like that, there's a lot of things to talk about. That's fine. But for the love of God, I mean, if we're talking about DNA replication, if we're talking about lipid diversity in cells, let's stick to that thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was, I think Otangelo, he brings up his blog and then like he reads something. And then if you ask him something specific about what he just read, then he just goes to like whatever the next thing is. And it's like, yeah. But he, like I said, he seems like a nice guy,
The thing is also like that's weird about him too, is that he like Standing can get off his script a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like he's trying to give his own thoughts about something. But with Otangelo, it always seems like that he has to be on his script 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you try to move him off, he'll just move down like the next item in the rung of his list.
Yep. Very much. Here it is. So we're looking at a sea urchin, and we're looking at the gene regulatory network for pregastular endomesoderm specification. So this is how the little sea urchin goes from zygote to having some skin, apparently, and some stomach.
I really wish that Godless Engineer had asked John Maddox to like walk him through the diagram or something.
Yes, exactly. Oh, do you see this up here?
I bet John Maddox saw, ooh, pretty colors, lots of interconnected things. I'm gonna go use that. There's no way he actually knows like what's going on in these biochemical pathways.
Looks complicated, so it must be designed. But look at this up here where my cursor is. Matt OTX. That's like Maddox. Maddox.
Hey, that's how he found it, or that's like a little Easter egg he put in.
Yes, isn't that excellent?
The calling card.
What the hell do we have here? So how are they doing this diagram? How are they doing inhibition? Oh, right there. Okay, they do it standard way. You see the little arrows mean that it's promoted, and the little bars mean that it's inhibited.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a basically a self-inhibitory network right here. So SOX-B1, I don't know if you can see that. Basically, when it actually inhibits its own transcription. So
anyway. You're giving Maddox too many hints.
And we have ubiquitin. Yeah, Maddox. The challenge is, instead of putting out a pissy video and just, skimming over the top, come here and pick one subject, one little piece.
A paper.
Dig in and a paper. And let's try to dig into this and figure out whether you're really as logical, plausible, and probable as you think. And we will actually look into the science, and if we're wrong, we'll fucking admit it, because we do that here. So
I admit that I'm wrong quite often.
And we'll be pleasant to him if he is pleasant to us. I'm not going to be able to look at his expressions though, because I'll go off on him. So I have to, and I'll give you guys powers to put me in timeout if you have to, because you might need it. But I think we could have I would love to have a human discussion with the man. When you end up talking to a person face to face and you're not in a debate situation, you end up seeing each other as human beings, and you turn the volume down, hopefully. So, and that's what we kind of need to do. But this is a wonderful paper. How long does it go? Oh, and they get into some of the details here. Groucho. I love how they name genes. Disheveled, frizzled Groucho. Of course, beta-catenin. What else we got here? Repressor of micromere. Fox A. There's Fox A. Notch. I know Notch and Delta. Notch and Delta are important in almost every embryo that develops.
Notch is the one gene that I've heard that I actually know what it is.
Yeah, and Sonic Hedgehog. Everybody's favorite.
All the homeobox genes.
What
Yeah,
people
so-
may not know is that there is also a gene that is parent to that called Robotnik gene.
Robotnik.
That's pretty funny. I didn't know about that.
Gene A and Gene B. We could start there with Maddox. I'm pretty sure you'd understand that. Gene A, Gene B, Gene C. Ooh, D and E.
Okay, Matt. There's things called letters, and they're part of an alphabet.
Alphabet is information.
Okay.
A is the first letter. B is the second letter. C is the third letter.
Okay, we're inviting the man to come and talk to us. We got to lay the fuck off. Okay, John, we love you.
Yeah.
In
We love
fact,
you. We know you're special, and we are willing to go the distance to help you.
yeah. In fact, John, if you're single, I kind of want to, have dinner with you. So, just so you know, I would consider changing it up for John. Okay, guys, we're going to end the broadcast for now and have a little discussion. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, so.
Okay, goodbye, boys and girls. Oh, bashing my ducks. We have another person in chat who we missed. Dunning Kruger. Oh boy, is that appropriate? Your handle is perfect. We need to have you on.
I've seen him in live streams and stuff before. It's a pretty good handle.
We're bashing the Mad Duck Ox, but we're pretty much burnt out for the evening. We managed to make it through the intro. We're planning on completing this video in 2023.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel, folks, because once this thing hits 100 subscribers, we will be doing something, maybe an 8-hour stream. Who knows? I don't know.
I didn't agree to this. Wait.
We'll be giving away BMWs. No, wait a minute.
It's an impromptu. It's an impromptu thing, okay? Come on, Walker, you got to do it.
100 subscribers. They said Standing for Truth said I would never see 100 subscribers. Come on, guys, subscribe.
Like 11 hours of 47 minutes. We could do like 11 hours of 48 minutes.
We could.
Yeah.
We're gonna push it like to the cap of what YouTube will allow for a video.
Can you imagine what my mind would be after 11 hours?
It's gonna be on fire and burning.
Actually, I have a second wind sometimes, and it gets pretty radical. I've been thrown out of many bars for standing on top of the bar and doing a speech or whatever. Anyway, okay, guys, goodbye. We are leaving for the night.
All right.